You know, you hear a lot of stories about the Attitude Era, the glitz, the pyro, the legends. But what you don't hear is what went on when the lights weren't rolling. See, I was there. Not in the video packages, not in the main events. I was the guy you don't remember, but I remember everything. I wrestled those dark matches, the ones before the cameras came on. I shared locker rooms with the biggest names of the Attitude and Ruthless Aggression eras. I shook hands with heroes, and I saw the other side of some of them too. Then, like a lot of us, I drifted into the shadows of the Indies. Kept the boots on, kept the mouth shut. But you look around these days, and there's a lot of the boys popping up on YouTube, washed up, hyped up, or still trying to relive it. I'm glad to see some of the good ones doing well. Stevie Richard, Maven, respect to you fellas. But me, it's my time now. Time to tell the stories the cameras missed. The stuff you only heard whispered on long car rides or in smoky locker rooms after the house went dark. I ain't bitter. Hell, I love this business more than anything. But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend it wasn't crawling with egos, politics, and a few real-life bad guys. So if you're ready to hear what really went down, let's start with one of the coldest men to ever lace up a pair of boots. The man of 1,000 holds, Dean Malenko. The question is, was he really that bad? Or was he just a perfectionist in a world built on chaos? Alright, let's open with one that floated around the locker rooms for years. Dean as a backstage agent. After his in-ring finish, Malenko spent roughly 18 years in the trenches as a WWE agent and road guy. One locker room veteran put it simply: Dean was lying on the floor in catering, loudly voicing his displeasure when someone cut the line. That's not petty. That's someone who's seen everything. Someone who expects you to know the drill, and when you don't, he'll call you out. Think about it. You're young. You're in the business. You think you're safe. Then the guy known as the Iceman comes at you with ice water in his eyes, and you realize you're still a rookie. Was Dean enforcing order? You bet. Did he make some feel targeted? Absolutely. That's the legacy of the man you never saw, but always knew something about. Let's dig into the chair story. In the business, we all had our spots, chairs, tables, routines. You earned them. You protected them. Now picture this. Young kid. First big house show. He slides right into the chair everyone knows belongs to Malenko. One of his peers, Stevie Richards, even recalled an incident along the lines of, "Dean attacked me over a chair." Although, of course, he meant the aura, not punches. The kid said it wasn't the chair. It was what the chair symbolized: respect, craft, veteran status. Dean didn't need to raise his voice. he needed you to realize you're in my spot and you're flying blind. That kind of moment sticks with you. You walk into a locker room. You take a seat without knowing the story. Maybe the next day you're asked by someone, "You know what chair that was, don't you?" That's how the lesser known legends kept the code. Was Dean being unreasonable? Some thought so. Was he protecting what he'd earned? Absolutely. I'll tell you straight, meeting Dean Malenko was like meeting a glacier with a handshake. One fan asked, "Are you Dean Malenko?" And the reply, sharp, flat, memorable. "Many moons ago I was." That's the kind of reply that makes you feel small in a big room. It's not a diss, it's just honesty. Because see, Malenko's world wasn't built for casual hellos and light banter. It was built on submission holes, ring psychology, blood, sweat, and chains of nights on the road. If you didn't get it, he didn't waste time explaining. Let's talk about standards. Because in the ring, Dean Malenko set the bar high. Dean held the locker room like a fortress of precision. You show up late, you skip warm-ups, you mess a transition, Dean would give you that look. Not angry, just disappointed. In this business, disappointment is worse than a punch. And for many of the younger guys, hungry, brash, Dean wasn't inviting them in for pizza after the show. He was training them. Does that rub people the wrong way? Sometimes. But if you made the cut, you knew you belonged. Here's one for the books. The whole ladies' man gimmick. Dean walking around with flowers and chocolates. A comedic little detour for the Iceman. Some backstage guys said it's not so much the gimmick that made waves. It was how Dean held himself off camera during it. You see, we're not talking a car chase entertainer. We're talking a technician who switched into mock romance for creative reasons. In a locker room full of bad habits, pranks, and late night pizza runs, that behavior looked different. Not bad, just out of sync. And it added to the rep. Dean Malenko didn't socialize like you, and he sure didn't act like you. I saw it myself. Young talent rolling in, fresh from the gym, looking at Malenko like a relic. One of them leaned back too far in the ring, and Dean just walked past him, flat-footed and silent. Said nothing, but kid felt it. Some of those younger guys figured Dean was just cranky. The truth, he'd been in the ring with the best, done the grueling travel, been in the cheap hotels. He knew the cost. So if you showed up with ego, but not the hours, Dean wouldn't punch you. He'd ignore you instead. That kills your momentum faster than any pile driver. The locker room code. You heard about it. You might have even respected it. But Dean lived it. Arrive early. Respect the gear. Don't whine. Help strike the ring. When the house went dark, the real work started. Dean didn't enforce this because he was a tyrant. He enforced it because he'd seen what happens when the code breaks. And trust me, I watched it crumble, time and time again. Here's a weird truth. Everybody in the business respected Dean Malenko's in-ring work. But after the locker room lights went off, he wasn't at the bar. He wasn't in the hotel lobby with the boys. Some guys joked he powered down after the match. Not because he was antisocial, because he had nothing to sell. No mic skills, no selfie era persona, just cold precision and craft. So the younger guys who wanted to hang, they felt the gap between the shine and the grind. When Dean moved from inside the ring to running matches as an agent, something changed. Suddenly, he wasn't one of the guys. He was managing the ones who were. Guys who worked with him as an agent later said he got colder, more clinical. Because you don't survive as a road agent by being liked. You survive by being respected. And Dean, he made sure his work still had the ring-scarred intensity of his own days in the boots. So what do you think? Was Dean Malenko really that bad? Or was he just the kind of perfectionist we rarely see anymore? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Right, Dean, bad or brilliant? And hey, if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane with an old road dog like me, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell. Plenty more stories to come from the shadows of the Attitude Era. I've been there, I've seen it, and now I talk about it.